Okay, next we are studying material mix and yield variance. So these are advanced variances. They are not an F2 level. Okay. The best way to understand is to look at a question. Okay. We will read the question and then I will explain. So this is taken from actual exam. We have two sections, section A, section B. So each section is separate from each other, okay? If you answer this section doesn't have any link with this section, so each section is separate. Like there is some further explanation in this section, then there is requirement. This doesn't have anything to do with that one. Okay, required calculate total material mix variance and total material yield variance for September. The Safe Soap Co. makes environmentally friendly soap using 3 basic ingredients. The standard cost card for one of the batch of soap for month of September was as follows. We have material, lye, coconut oil and shea butter. We have the quantity used and the price per kg. The budget for production and sales in September was 120,000 batches. Actual production and sales were 136,000 batches. The actual ingredient used were as follows. So this is the actual quantity that we used. So calculate. So in this question there is no theoretical point, it is just numerical. So you have material mix variance and yield variance. So there is 8 marks. So I believe 4 marks for each of them. Okay. And then we have section B. Requirement is briefly explain what the adverse material mix and favorable material yield variance indicate about production at Safe Soap Co. in October. You are not required to discuss the revision of standards or operational and planning variances. Operational and planning variance is something else we will study. And discuss whether the sales manager could be justified in claiming that the changes in material mix has caused an adverse sales volume variance in October. Okay, what I'm going to do first is explain material mix and material yield variance, which is in this section. Okay. First, I will give you a general explanation. As you can see, there are 4 marks, so there are 2 variances. So there will be 2 marks for giving comments on mix and yield variance. Okay, so what is material mix and yield variance? A general explanation. So the material usage variance that we studied, material usage variance was whether we use more or less material than standard. So using more material was adverse, using less material was favorable. That can further be divided in 2 parts, which is material mix and yield variance. Like we divided fixed overhead volume variance in 2 parts. We said there are 2 reasons, efficiency, capacity. We can divide material usage variance in 2 parts. Remember, mix and yield variance in cost only exists in material, it doesn't exist in labor. Okay? We don't calculate it for labor. Can be further divided into material mix and material yield variance. There are 2 conditions for material yield and mix variance to exist. 1, a product, so actually 3 conditions. A product uses 2 or more materials. If product uses 1 material, then there won't be any mix or yield variance. It should be 2 or more products. These materials can be substituted for each other. Okay? Substituted means one material can be used instead of another. And there should be a standard mix in which materials are used. They should give you a standard mix. Standard mix means, like in this example, they said 0.25 kilograms lye is used, 0.60 kilogram oil and 50 kilogram butter is used. So around half, about 500 grams, about 600 grams and 250 grams. So this is a standard mix. Okay, if they don't give you this information, you can find material mix and yield variance. Yeah, like multi-products UB. There should be a standard mix. And also you can see in this example we have 3 materials that are used. So 2 is the minimum. Okay. And then these things should be substituted for each other. It means if we increase this a little bit or if we decrease this a little bit, we can do it. Okay? It will not blast or something. Yeah? The product will be made. It will be a little bit different. If I give you example of, let's say, smoothie, yeah? Banana. You can increase banana or you can increase milk. You can make one glass. That depends on what you add more or less. And that will decide the taste as well. Does it make sense? So we can substitute the material. So 3 conditions. Let me make sure you use 3. Does it make sense? So I wanted to explain this after the question because I wanted to actually show you in the question. Now, what is material mix variance? What is the meaning of mix? Mix means what you have added. For example, if I ask about banana smoothie, what you have added in it? How much banana, how much was the milk, how much was sugar? That is mix. Okay? And this, remember, the important thing is this input. Focus on this input. Mix relates to input and looks at the material used. Okay? If material input is expensive, input means what you added. The more expensive material used and less cheaper material used, then there is adverse variance. Okay? Like if we talk about banana smoothie, if you add more dates, then it will be adverse. You can make 1 glass, but that 1 glass would be expensive. In this example, if you can see, this is expensive line. Okay, the first material is expensive. If I use more this material, then my mix would be adverse. Okay, does it make sense? If material input is cheap, what does cheap mean? Less expensive material is used, more cheap material is used. Then there is a favorable variance. Now in this example, if I use more of this material or this material, then my variance would be favorable. If I use less expensive material, more cheap material, my mix variance will be favorable. If I use more expensive material and less cheap material, then my mix will be adverse. Okay? So it focuses on the cost of input of the material. Is the input expensive or cheaper? And then we have yield, material yield. Yield means output, production. Okay? This looks at overall output. This is the key point. Okay? So it looks at output, how many units we made from these materials. If output is more, means more quantity than standard, then there is a favorable variance. If we produce more units, that means the output was more, it means that it's favorable. Okay? If output is less, means less quantity than standard, then there's adverse variance. Okay, maybe we have used expensive material, but the resulting effect is where we should have made 1.5 glasses, now we have made 2 glasses. Where we should have made 3 units, we have made 5 units. Yeah, the expensive material we use more, but the resulting effect was The output was more. Okay, the cheaper material, yeah, we use more. So the mixed variance was favorable. But the output was less. Less quantity were made. So our yield variance is adverse. So when you combine these two, it will give you volume variance. Sorry, usage variance. Okay? Material usage variance. So in case of SOAPCO, I will explain that when we look at question. But let's now focus on A, which is just calculating material mix variance and yield variance. Let's read it again. SAFECO makes environmentally friendly products using these three ingredients. We have these ingredients, and then we have a standard cost card. The budgeted production and sales in September was 120,000, and actual production was 136,000. Remember, we don't care about budgeted production, we care about actual production. So cost comes on actual production. Yeah, when we are talking about sales, then we look at that variance. The sales variance we will do next. The actual ingredients used were as follows. So these are the actual ingredients used. So let's calculate our variance. So we have part A. I will call this something called actual. Let me write a little bit below. I'm leaving a space here because there's a reason. We have actual quantity, actual mix. What it basically means, how much did we actually use material? Yeah, it will be given in question. So we have lye. Let's use short L, coconut oil and shallot. Okay. LCS. We actually used 34,080. 34,080. Uh, 83,232. And 64,200. Okay, this is what we actually used. Now, how much would it cost us? Yeah, remember, if there is actual price given and standard price given, which one would you use? This is standard price, yeah? This price is standard. What if the actual price is different? They didn't give us actual price. But let's say they give us actual price. The actual price is, let's say, $9, $5, $4. Which one would you use? Actual or standard? Standard. Because when we talk about usage, we talk about usage. We talk about price and price variance. Does it make sense? If we consider price there as well, and we consider it here as well, it will be double counting. If you remember, when we were calculating material usage variance, we multiplied by the standard price. Yeah? We didn't multiply by actual price when we were calculating usage variance. Yeah, in price variance, we looked at how much it should have cost us. We multiplied by standard price, and we saw with actual how much it cost us. But when we were finding usage, we look at the standard quantity and actual quantity multiplied by standard price. If you see, I took the price from the original cost card. I didn't take the actual price. Does that make sense? So use actual price. Let me write here on the top, important thing. Use actual price. Sorry, standard price. Even if actual price is different. The reason is because we are talking about what? Usage here, not price. Price variance, price difference is looked at in price variance, not usage variance. Okay?
What about if actual price is given? We compare both based on.
Let me complete the sentence, then you can also. So, not usage variance. If we consider it here as well, it will be double counting. Okay? Yeah.
If actual price is given,
Yeah.
we can compare both based on actual price. Price is the same.
If actual price is given, standard is not given. This is what you're saying. Then we don't have any option. We will use actual. Then actual means standard. Doesn't make sense. If actual is given,
you are supposed to find the quantity used. Yeah. Don't need.
No, I'm saying in a question, if there is two things given, standard price and actual price, you use standard price when you are talking about usage variance. Doesn't make sense. We don't touch actual price.
The same answer will become from comparing with based on actual price.
No. Amount will be different. Okay. We are not calculating quantity. We are calculating amount. I have taken this kgs, I have multiplied by price now. I haven't done that. I went to explanation. So we have $10 for this one, $4 for this one, and $3 for this one. We need to understand this in terms of amount, not just quantity. So I'm going to separately write each of them as well. CS. Try to leave same amount of columns, okay? Because then it will be easier. Okay, so this is how much it would cost me in standard price, the actual quantity that I use. Okay. So I just took the quantity actual quantity and multiplied by standard price. So this is how much the lye, the coconut oil, and the shea butter would cost us. Actual quantity in standard price. Doesn't make sense. Now if you look at this total quantity is 181,512. Now I want to know, now this is the actual quantity that I've used. What I want to know is, what if I had used these in standard quantity? How much of L, how much of C, how much of S I would have used? Okay? Just going to copy it, paste. What I'm going to do is look at standard mix. If you look at standard mix, we have 0.25 kgs, 0.60 kgs, 0.50. How much does it become total? Let me write here somewhere, maybe in the bottom. Standard mix. We equal 0.25 plus 0.50, 0.60 plus 0.50. So we have a standard 1.35 kilograms per unit. Okay? What I'm going to do now is take this actual quantity, okay, divided by standard mix, standard total quantities in a mix. Just to make it easier, what I'm going to do is write in front of these the standard mix, okay, just so that you understand. 0.25, 0.60, 0.50. or we can just add it here. It will be total mix. Yeah? No need for this one. So computer-based exam is very flexible. You can always change your mind. No problem. Yeah? Nobody notices. So this standard quantity divided by the actual quantity divided by total kgs per unit in a mix, multiply by quantities relating to this. Open space. Divide by total quantities in a mix, multiply by quantities relating to this. So if we had used them in standard quantities, yeah, we would have used 33,613 kgs of L. Total quantities divided by total kgs in a mix, multiply by kgs relating to C. If we had used them in standard quantity, we would have used 80,672 kgs of C. Do the same thing here. Total quantities divided by standard multiplied by SS. So the total quantity after you add should be the same. Now this is the same quantity, but this time what we did, we saw them if they were used in in standard mix. We would have used this one less, yeah? As you can see here, it is more. We would have used this one less as well. As you can see, it is more. And this one we would have used more, but actually we used less. You can clearly see without even calculating that we have used more expensive material because in standard it was less. More expensive material, but we have used less cheaper material. So our mixed variance will be adverse. Does it make sense? Because we have used more expensive material because this is standard. This is what you call actual quantity, but in standard mix. Okay? So our mix is expensive, to put it in simple words. Okay? So it should give us adverse variance. So don't need to multiply this one. I just multiply by the price. Okay. Quantities multiplied by price. Quantities multiplied by price. L should have cost us 336,000, but it cost us 340,000. C should have cost us 322,000, but it cost us 332,000. S should have cost us 201,000, but it cost us 192,000. Yeah, we saved money on this one because we used less. But the saving would be less than what we incurred more on this. If we look at it individually, there is no need to calculate individually. But we have an adverse variance here. We have an adverse variance here. We have a favorable variance here. It means we incur more money on this, but we save money on this. As you can see clearly, the saving on this is less than the money spent more on this. It makes sense in total. If you add all totals, totally this is how much material should have cost us per standard mix. But actually, according to actual mix, it is 866,000. So we have adverse variance 5,826. Adverse. Okay? Mixed variance. What it basically means that if we had used these quantities in standard mix, it would have cost us less than what it actually would cost us now that we have used this in actual quantity. Does it make sense? So before you answer a question, this should be clear. If you use more expensive material, then your mix should be adverse. Okay? If you use more cheaper material, then your mix will be favorable. Okay? If I add something else on the top here, standard quantity, we call it standard quantity, standard mix. Now I want to know that this output that I have achieved, which is 136,000 kgs. How much each material I would have used if I had produced 136,000 kgs? Okay? So 136,000 multiplied by equals 136,000 multiplied by half kg, about 0.25 kgs of this would have been used. 136,000 multiplied by 0.60 kgs this would have been used, and 136,000 multiplied by half kgs of this would have been used. If I look at the quantity that I produce and see the standard material that I would have used, I would have used 183,000 kgs, which is more than this. It means even though my mix variance is adverse, but my yield variance is favorable. What it basically means, in standard, the output that I have achieved would have been achieved with 183,600 kgs. But we have achieved that with 181,512 kgs in terms of standard mix. So we have achieved more output with less input. Does that make sense? Even though that input was expensive, that is why we have adverse mix variance, but the overall output that we achieve from that is more. Okay? Because let's say normally if we would have produced 2 units, now we have produced 3 units. Okay? Now the material that we use in those is expensive. Let's see whether the saving on this one is more than the cost incurred on the other one or not. So kgs multiplied by price, kgs multiplied by price. So compare. We have a favorable variance, yeah? So in standard it would have cost us 340,000 kgs for the output that we achieved, but it cost us 336,000 in terms of standard quantity. It would have cost us 326,000, but it cost us 322,000 in terms of standard quantity. It would have cost us 204,000, but it cost us 201,000 in terms of standard quantity. So you don't need to calculate it for each material, okay? Total is what is asked. So we have a favorable variance. Favorable mix variance. What it basically means that the overall output that we have achieved is more than we should have had if we look at the standard quantity. Does it make sense? Now, this is favorable, this is adverse. So overall, we have saved. If we add both, what will it give us? No, what is that variance? usage variance. So favorable. So we have used 4072 worth less materials. There are two reasons. One, we bought material cheaper, we use more expensive material and less cheaper material, but that resulted in more output being achieved. That more output saved us more money than what we incurred extra on buying material expensive. Now, if I look at the usage variance directly, what did we do in usage variance? Didn't we look at the actual quantity? We looked at actual quantity, actual quantity, and we looked at standard quantity. If you remember, material usage variance was, we had used L, because there are three materials, I'm going to do it for all of them separately. 136,000 units, we should have used 0.25 kgs. In 136,000 units, we should have used 0.60 kgs. In 136,000 units, we should have used 0.50 kgs, So which equals this. In terms of price, if we multiply by price, we have $10. Because the price is separate, that's why I first have to multiply by price. 3. So multiply by price. This is how much we would have used in standard, okay? But actually, we use this much. Which is 866,000, Now if you look at both, we have 4,072. Doesn't make sense. So when you add the subvariances and you make it, this is a quick way of knowing whether your mix and yield variance is correct or wrong. Sometimes you forget which one to use, actual quantity, actual mix. Remember, in mix variance, the quantity is the same, actual quantity, but the standard mix compared with actual mix. So we have a mix variance. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? See, the quantity, actual quantity is the same. We left the quantity the same. We changed the mix. Actual mix versus standard mix. That gave us mix variance. If you look here, the standard mix is the same. But the quantity, actual quantity compared with standard quantity. So it gave us yield variance. Quantity, yield means quantity. Doesn't make sense. There is also another way of knowing. Okay. So we've answered part A, which is mix and yield variance. So overall, we saved money on usage. Now price is something else. You shouldn't be confused. Don't mix one thing with another thing. Now let's look at part B. Okay, which is asking, briefly explain what the adverse material mix and favorable material yield variance indicate about the production and safe soap co. in October. Note, you are not required to discuss revision of standards or operational and planning variances. And then discuss whether the sales manager could be justified in claiming that the change in the material mix has caused an adverse sales volume variance in October. In October, the material mix and yield variances were as follows. Mix is 6,000 adverse, yield is 10,000 favorable. Now, it doesn't mean that the above should give you this answer. This is just so that you don't know how to calculate. If you lose marks here, you will not lose marks here. Does it make sense? If you don't know the calculation, but if you know the explanations, you will get marks for explanation. That's why this figure is just given. But this doesn't mean here it is adverse and this is favorable 10,000. Our answer should be the same for above. No, when you're looking at this, just look at this. Don't confuse it with the previous. Okay. A production manager is pleased with the results overall. Production manager is happy. As you can see, if you add both, we have 4,000 favorable, yeah? At the beginning of September, he's saying, at the beginning of September, I made some changes to the mix of ingredients used for the soaps. As I expected, the mix variance is adverse in both months because we haven't yet updated our standard cost card. But in both months, the favorable yield variance more than makes up for this. Overall, I think we can be satisfied that the changes made to the product mix are producing good results, and now we are able to produce more batches and meet the growing demand for our products. Yeah, if the output is more, if yield is favorable, it means you are producing more output with less input. So that means if you had any limitation of production, now you are producing more units. Yeah. The sales manager is not happy, holds a different view and says, I'm not happy with the changes in the ingredient mix. I've had to explain to the board why the sales volume variance for October was 22,000 adverse. Sales volume is adverse. It means we have sold less units. I've tried to explain that the quality of the soap has declined slightly, and some of my customers has realized this and simply aren't happy. But no one seems to be listening. Some customers are even demanding that the price of the soap be reduced and threatening to go elsewhere if the problem isn't sorted out. Okay. Now, one thing was briefly explain what is the material mix variance and yield variance. When you see a question like this, first explain the topic and then give specific answers. Okay, like I first explain what is material mix variance and what is material yield variance. They don't ask you first write the definition and then explain. You automatically must know. Okay. Explain first, then give specific answer. Okay, like I've explained here, what is material mix variance and what is material yield variance. Now, if you give general answers, you will not get full marks. Okay, your answer should be specific. Here they have asked, indicate about production at Safe Soap Co. in October. So in case of Safe Soap Co., we have 6,000 adverse. Yeah. Material mix variance equals 6,000 adverse and material yield variance is 10,000 favorable. Okay. Now, it means that mix was expensive. Okay, more expensive material is used and less inexpensive or cheaper. Does it make sense? It means the output achieved from input is more than we would have achieved had we followed the standard. Does that make sense? Okay. First, just give explanation and then make it specific. Okay. Just explaining material yield variance and mix variance will not be enough. Okay. The second thing was, so there is 4 marks, I believe 2 marks for each. Usually, half mark is given for general, like in this example specifically. 1 mark will be given, for example, for explaining what is material mix variance. Then another 1 mark will be given for making it specific to the question. So it will make 2 marks. And 1 mark will be given for material yield variance. Then another mark will be given for making it specific to the scenario. Okay? discuss whether the sales manager could be justified in claiming that the change in material mix has caused an adverse sales volume variance in October. Okay? The thing you could write here is, this is B part 2. Okay? First, let's give a general explanation whether change in the mix could affect the demand or not. Okay? So let me write here, effect of demand on demand of change in mix. Now, change in mix could favorably or adversely affect sales demand, because if mix changes, then the quality of the product would also be expected to change. Now the new quality is either liked or disliked by customers. Does that make sense? So generally, yeah, the change in the mix could affect demand, okay, favorably or unfavorably. But is it immediate effect? Customers realizing the change. But it would take some time for customers to realize that and affect demand. Does that make sense? It will not be just immediate effect. It will take some time, yeah, that people notice and that it affects our demand. It will not be an immediate thing. But as you can see in this question specifically, the manager says, I'm not happy with the change in ingredients. See, sometimes what happens is, if your performance is not good, you try to blame someone else for it. Like maybe the sales manager is blaming the production manager for his demand change. He's just making an excuse. He says, okay, you change the mix, now people are not buying the product. That could not be the real case, yeah? But in this case, if you see, I've tried to explain the quality of the soap as declined, and some of my customers have realized this and simply aren't happy. Okay? So we have received complaint. That means that they have noticed it. In case of safe soap, as the customers have complained about the quality of the product, could mean that they have realized the change in quality. Okay? And maybe not 100%. That's why the demand is less. Does that make sense? We just explain what we know. Now actually we don't know whether it is actually because of the change in quality or not. Does it make sense? So this was your